Hey folks, guess who's graduating in a few weeks? I am. So how am I celebrating? By watching the Land Before Time TV series.
He lives the life of an average Joe, and for that he don't need to practice. He lives the life of an average Joe, 'cause that's the best for him.
Hello there folks, Jaimetud here to wrap up this multi-part review session of the Land Before Time series with my personal take on the Land Before Time TV series, as opposed to the movies. But before I delve into that, I would like to briefly recollect on my personal experiences with the series as a whole.
I have always loved The Land Before Time. 1. It was made during the height of Don Bluth's career in the 80s, and I personally consider it to be his finest. Mostly, I overall like the message of the film. It's a bunch of kids who all share the same goal of getting somewhere and overcome their differences in order to get there. Pride, faith, and friendship all play a major part in this 80s classic. There's a lot of religious undertones in the film. Think about it. Journeying to the west, the one way that's right, and the sun is basically God. So in the end, if you have faith and follow the right path, you get to the promised land. I can dig that.
Now imagine my surprise as a kid to find out that they started making sequels. Of course, I wasn't too picky, so watching more adventures with Littlefoot and all of his friends was all I cared about.
Mostly, I thought these movies were just okay. But a lot of the elements that made the original great were simply no longer there. That means no more religious parallels, less conflict, and less tragedy. By that I mean no more deaths. Littlefoot, who spent much of his time in the original talking to his mother from beyond the grave, now pretty much acts like she never existed. Even the art progressively suffered. The original had great animation and a very natural color scheme with nice earthy tones. Almost immediately, the sequels offered so-so animation and evolved into having a very bright and vibrant color scheme. Not to mention the introduction of music.
'Cause we're family and you're one of us now.
Admittedly, I thought some of the songs were decent, but most of them pretty much sucked. That and you should never follow up a non-musical with a movie that is a musical.
I think my ultimate disenfranchisement with the series overall came with movie number 5, The Mysterious Island. I remember at age 12 standing in the middle of a Costco aisle watching this movie with a group of kids that were much younger than I was, and curbing my boredom by making wisecracks at every single thing the characters said. After that, I just gave up.
Most of my memories after that involved lashing out every other time a sequel was made, but a lot of folks had those qualms with the series. Even when I worked at Safeway, a customer with kids went and brought movie number 8, The Big Freeze. Dan, the checkout guy, took one look at the cover and said to the lady, "Do you think they would really be smiling like that if they knew they were about to become extinct?"
So I guess with over 10 movies made in the course of less than 20 years, they finally decided, let's just make it a TV show.
Think about it, the plots of each film were starting to get thin enough. If you cut out all the useless padding, bad jokes, and crappy music, you get enough story to fill out a 20-minute long episode. So, that's what they did. And because kids are easily entertained, the show had a standard run of some 20-odd episodes.
Now, this show came out at a rather interesting time in my life. I was just going through some relationship trouble. And when that happens, just about anything looks good. Now that I'm over that, let's sit down and watch this thing for what it's really worth. What? Oh, the cereal? Yeah, I figured the only way to still enjoy cartoons in the morning is to watch while eating cereal. Oh, come on, you do this too, don't judge me.
All I see is the day in front of us.
Well, it looks like I certainly spent enough time away from this series, because someone finally decided to put some effort into this. I know this is only the introduction, but this theme song is kind of catchy. It's one of those typical happy-go-lucky theme songs where everything's fine, everything's good. Yeah, kind of boring, but it does have a reading rainbow vibe to it that I totally dig.
Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow.
Unfortunately, it doesn't make up for the music that the rest of the series has to offer.
You just say, oops, eeps, I made a mistake.
Ah yes, it's the infamous singing. And here I was thinking that 20 minutes wouldn't leave them enough time. Everything under the sun has already been said about how bad this music is, but don't worry, because Dr. Jaimetud has the cure.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again.
Yeah, I'm watching The Golden Girls.
So we have all of our favorite characters from the first film: Littlefoot, Sarah, Ducky, Petrie, and Spike, who at this point I guess we can diagnose as being clinically mute. We also have two other characters who have been brought into the fold since then. We have Chomper, who in my mind is probably the most redeeming characteristic of any of these sequels, and Ruby, the pinkest creature that nature ever produced, other than Kirby.
So, what's the story conflict here? Well, very little, as far as I can tell. Not to say that there's not an overarching story, but just that it's not very well fleshed out. We do have a lead villain, Red Claw, a Sharptooth who gets makeup tips from Two-Face, and his two cronies, whose names I don't care about enough to remember. Why is he called Red Claw? Because he has a Red Claw! Yeah. Actually, I kind of thought things were more effective when the villains in this series didn't have any names or stated objectives. You know, like in the first movie. But let's stop bashing this show just on the surface and actually try to sit through an episode to see if there's anything redeeming about it.
Let's start out with the episode The Days of Rising Water. The basic gist of this episode is, rain's been coming down and now Petrie's home has been destroyed, forcing him to move.
Wait a second, this sounds familiar. This is the storyline where they talk about moving and he's suddenly afraid of moving, right?
Move! Oh, but me no want to move. Me love our home.
Yep, I thought so. It's straight out of the great unwritten book of TV cliches. So what's he gonna do? Sing about it.
Me no want new home. Me love me old nest. It not fair.
Listening to Petrie's singing voice is actually the least likable because his voice sounds very much like sharp objects being mashed into a chalkboard using a Mack truck with snow chains on. And speaking of raspy voices, come on, be Arthur.
I hope he trips on his thongs and falls into a volcano.
So, Littlefoot, Chomper, and Pinky here all decide to help Petrie's family move. One story-obligated near accident later, and they're at their new location. The nest is built, and all of their problems are solved.
Where me snuggling stick?
Just kidding.
Oh, me kid lost it. Me had snuggling stick since me come to Great Valley. Me go find it.
Snuggling stick!
So, Petrie's mother takes off to find the snuggling stick and risks her life for the darn thing, causing a landslide and making it look like, once again, a dinosaur is about to become extinct. But then...
I smell something. More ground crawlers? No, Petrie's mom.
That was kinda rude. Oh, wait, no, he smells her scent underneath that pile of mud. So that's how they're going to locate her, but first they got to dig, using Chomper's teeth.
That's all right. The mud's yucky, but there's some delicious ground crawlers in it. Ew!
And then, of course, the rain finally stops and it's time for another song.
Me feel so happy, me want everyone to see. Me like the bright.
This is even harder to listen to than the last one. At least the last one was in the right key. Oh, and by the way, if you ever watch more than one episode of this show, they love to repeat this song.
I feel so happy and want everyone to see.
Over and over and over again.
I feel so happy and want everyone to see.
It's not even that catchy of a song, they just couldn't write any more music. Even more evidence that they should have just scrapped the music altogether. So I guess the lesson for this episode is, home is where the heart is. Great, well, I guess I've learned my lesson, so it looks like there's another episode starting out. I'll just switch on back.
Oh, Littlefoot.
Dad, you're back!
Wait a minute. Dad? He's got a dad? Since when did he ever have a... But in the first movie, it was just his mom and his grandparents. I assumed his dad was... Huh?
Okay, so after having not watched any movie in the series past number 5, I skipped out on finding out that Littlefoot's father was still alive in movie number whatever, but I didn't know that watching the show.
I mean, where's this guy been? Why aren't you taking care of your own son, huh? What's your excuse? Never mind.
So yeah, Dad's back for this episode, and he's set up a test for Littlefoot to see if he's suitable to one day lead a herd when he grows up. Because leading his friends miles westward in search of the Great Valley in the first movie didn't count. But alas, he's set up a death-defying set of tests for him to accomplish. Gee, thanks, Dad. Throw some hot lava in, why don't you? Yeah, one false move here and you won't have to make up for years of lost parenting.
You know, I'm not a paleontologist or anything, but look at that kid's feet. Do you really think an Apatosaurus could climb a cliff like that?
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can.
Big, long neck Tess. The very big, long neck.
I'm gonna have to meet men lying down. I thought you did.
So Littlefoot passes the test, shows strength, bravery, and judgment, and all that, show's over. Typical. You know, I'd love to stay here and give you a play-by-play of every other episode, but this show's running a little too long. I think I'll just skip to the other stuff that caught my attention. For anyone who dares still be a fan of this franchise, you might remember Allie, the only other female longneck that's Littlefoot's age. Nice character, but it seems like she's more of a fan favorite than anything. There's a lot of fan fiction out there, yes, fanboys write about this stuff, detailing the more so romantic exploits of Littlefoot and Allie as adults. How do I know this? You don't want to know.
Anything else worth mentioning? Well, not really, but I'll mention it anyway. There is the episode March of the Sand Creepers, a title which I think is right up there with Invasion of the Tiny Sauruses on the kookiness meter. The title alone sounds like a hybrid of March of the Penguins and some obscure sci-fi film from the 50s. And I don't even have anything against the episode because I haven't seen it all the way through. I just gotta say, March of the Sand Creepers? I also want to mention something else I've noticed. How come everyone else in this series seems to age at a different rate?
We all know from watching the first 2 movies that Chomper is definitely the youngest in the group, but take a look at this scenario from Escape from the Mysterious Beyond. Ducky and Chomper are trapped on some dangerous precipice for the millionth time. The people that make these movies have tried that scenario, and Chomper has to basically fend off one of Red Claw's minions. See the problem? Ducky, the older one of the two, is a defenseless child in this scenario, and Chomper, the younger, has to be like a brave older sibling.
Do these characters just reach a certain age and then stop getting older? Come on, start making some sense. Okay, I'm running out of things to rant about. Let's see, Oh yeah, I'd like to address that. Listening to Spike try to sing makes Petrie sound more like Josh Groban by comparison. I've actually heard that this harsh attempt at humming is an art form called Scat Singing, pioneered by the likes of Al Jolson and Ella Fitzgerald. But it's never quite lived up to the title of Scat Singing until now. That, and it should have died out 80 years ago. Oh, I almost forgot to mention, Ever want to hear what Spike sounds like when he talks? Well, there is one episode I did see where you can hear Spike's thoughts. Listen.
Food. What a treat. Food.
Just kidding. Actually, this is what he sounds like.
Sometimes I think Mr. Three-Horn just enjoys arguing.
Ah, it's voice acting veteran Rob Paulsen. Who'd have thought? But how does everyone else sound to him?
Sarah? Littlefoot.
Okay, Spike officially has the first ever learning disability. And why is he colorblind too? What's with this purple tint he sees everything in? Why does he only understand selective words from others? Why does he hear tree stars playing a flute? And where are Rex and Herb in this one? Okay, so that last question didn't make any sense, but I give up. I can't find anything else salvageable about this, so I'm just gonna spend the rest of my day watching the Golden Girls.
Remembering is a kind of a funny thing. It makes me think of time gone by. A glad hello, a sad goodbye. Thoughts I'll always hold dear. Remembering makes reappear. For good, for bad, or even sad. I'll always my remembering.
Wow. I don't know who that actress is, but she's actually a really good singer. What is she doing on this show? She should be on American Idol or Glee.
Hey, James.
Dear Blanche, I guess you know.
Come in.
I'm really sorry. The thing is,
Oh, hi, Dad. I didn't hear you.
Hey, I just wanted to ask if you wanted to go grab some lunch.
Oh, no. I'm taken care of.
You're a beautiful, loving, trusting...
Oh, you're watching the Golden Girls.
Yeah.
I guess maybe I'm hoping the shock...
Have you been crying?
No, not at all.
Okay. Okay. See you later.
Have to look anyone in the eye ever again.
So in the end, while I did manage to find a few redeemable things about the show, it's still below satisfactory. Kids will love it, sure, but do the people that make this stuff just think they're idiots? You don't think one day they'll grow up and say to themselves, hey yeah, I remember that show, man that was stupid. Like I said before, the animation isn't that bad for TV, but couldn't they have put some effort into the stories? And sure, it's still cute, but why did this series get such an overall sugarcoating? Do they think that kids today are so weak that they can't take a well-constructed and emotionally driven plot anymore? Like the first movie? Ugh, I give up.
Well, J-Tub, you look all messed up from your assignment.
It's Jaimetud. And yes, my head is still swimming after all that crappy music.
Alright then, looks like we're finally done.
Oh, no, we're not done yet.
What do you mean? There's nothing left after the TV show.
Maybe not, but since you're here, I'd like to share something else with you.
What is it?
Land Before Time fan fiction.
Oops, my bad.
I smell something. Petrie's mom.